During my son's party, my nephew tore into my child's gift and yelled, "This is mine." All guests chuckled. Later Dad stated, "Stop the fuss. It's only an iPhone." I embraced my kid. "Fine." That evening, I waved her car keys. "Now mine." "Chill out. It's just a car I fund." Can you imagine watching your own son's heart shatter over a birthday gift, only to have your family tell you to not make a scene? They thought it was just a phone, just a toy. But for me, that moment was the quiet trigger for a storm they never saw coming. It all started so innocently. My 7-year-old, Leo, was practically vibrating with excitement. He tore into the wrapping paper like a tiny, sugar-fueled raccoon, popped open the lid, and there it was, the iPhone. He held it up, beaming, then whoosh. My nephew, Evan, who's 10 and has a knack for appearing whenever something valuable is around, swooped in. "Mine now," he yelled, snatching it right out of Leo's hands. The room erupted with laughter. Someone actually clapped. My son, my sweet Leo, stood there with frosting on his lip, his eyes wide and brimming, trying so hard not to cry. My dad, oblivious, didn't even look up from his paper plate. "Don't make a scene, Nate," he mumbled. "It's just an iPhone. Just an iPhone." I pulled my son close, feeling his small frame tremble against me. "Sure," I heard myself say, the word tasting like ash. Leo leaned into me, a tired little backpack of disappointment. Here's the thing, I didn't scream. I didn't grab the phone back. I didn't launch into a lecture about respect at a table strewn with Paw Patrol plates and half-eaten Costco sushi. Instead, I just noted. I noted the timestamp on my watch, for 37 p.m., and I noted the way my sister, Bree, smirked, like this entire humiliating charade was all part of her grand plan. Later that night, in their driveway, I dangled her car keys on one finger. "Mine now," I said, a quiet echo of Evan's earlier shout. Bree's face twisted into confusion. "What?" "Relax," I said, my voice deliberately calm. "It's just a car." Before we go deeper, let me give you some context. I'm Nate, 36. I'm a project estimator for an HVAC company in Tulsa. 2-bedroom rental, a black 2015 Camry with a dent, and a bad habit of checking my bank balance before bed. I'm the quiet helper. The guy who shows up early to set up chairs, stays late to fold tables. The one who fronts money, just until payday. The one who figures out the Venmo split after everyone's had too much sangria. Bree, my sister, she's 33. Single mom, big eyelashes, even bigger opinions. She's the golden child. You need examples? When she rear-ended a mailbox in high school, Mom called it senioritis. When I scraped a mirror on Dad's truck at 19, he took my car keys for a month because I didn't respect property. Last year, Bree forgot to pay her utility bill. Dad sent her $350 and a smile. I mentioned I was short on cash after a visit to the ER for Leo. Mom said, "Budget better." This story, it's about one birthday party, one phone, one bill, and a boundary I should have set years ago. And yes, there are receipts. The phone went to the wrong kid, and the whole room laughed like it was normal. We did Leo's party at Sky Zone because he's obsessed with trampolines. I put down the deposit, $1,450, on my Discover card. Paid the balance, $1,152.80, the morning of. I booked his favorite sheet cake, half chocolate, half vanilla. I even grabbed a Costco fruit tray for those health-conscious relatives who never actually show up. Bree offered to help with decorations, which meant she arrived an hour late with a single helium balloon and a ring light. "Content," she declared, spinning in the doorway. "Don't be weird about it." Leo's mom, Jess, my ex-wife. We split 3 years ago, but we're cordial. She was there, standing beside me, napkins in her pocket, that anxious co-parent smile on her face. She chipped in, too, bought the paper goods and a Lego set that, spoiler alert, never got opened. I bought the iPhone not because a 7-year-old needs one, but because Leo walks to the bus stop at my place every other week, and he's been terrified since that stray dog incident. We agreed on a starter model, nothing crazy, an iPhone SE, 128 gigabytes, for $429. I picked it up, tossed the bag under a blanket in my trunk, and felt a quiet, dad-like pride. I even added a cheap case with little planets on it, because Leo's into space. The family hierarchy, it always hovers. Bree floated in, hips first, all charm, while Mom ran interference like a PR rep. "Nate, Mom said, breathless, pinning a crepe streamer to the wall. Bree's had a rough week. Don't give her tasks. She didn't mention my rough month. She didn't mention how I'd covered Bree's $1,200 car insurance premium in January when her policy lapsed. She didn't mention I was still paying $39.99 on my AT&T account for an extra line I added for her 2 years ago during an emergency. She didn't say anything because I'm the quiet helper, the guy who just does it. 2 more quick examples. Last Thanksgiving, Bree collected everyone's cash for the grocery run. I handed over $120. She texted me a photo from Whole Foods for pies and a single turkey breast. You'll love it, she wrote. We ate ham from my freezer. In March, Dad forgot his wallet after dinner at Smoke. The check was $184.62. Everyone paused. I slid my card into the leather booklet. Dad patted my shoulder like I'd won a prize. So, when the presents started, I was on guard, but still hopeful. Leo sat cross-legged on the foam floor, cheeks red from bouncing, hair damp under a paper crown. He shrieked with delight over the Lego set from his mom. He opened Hot Wheels, socks from my aunt, a hoodie from my cousin. Then, the white apple bag. I pulled it toward him. This one's from Dad, I said, and Leo's eyes went wide, the way kids' eyes do when they think magic is real and also tangible. That's when Evan, Bree's son, swooped in. He tore the paper, flipped the box open, and yelled it. Mine now. I blinked. Laughter popped around the room like popcorn. Even the party host chuckled, then stopped dead when she saw my face. Evan, I said, my voice unnaturally even. Buddy, that's for Leo. Bree was filming. Of course she was. Evan's phone died, she said, not moving. He needs something for school. He's older. It's from me, to Leo, I repeated, my jaw tight. Dad waved a plastic fork like a flag. Don't make a scene. It's just an iPhone. Leo stared at his shoes. His paper crown slipped a little. Jess squeezed my arm. I nodded, a bobblehead of forced compliance, and in a voice I barely recognized, I said, sure. I let Evan hold the box. He hooped like he'd scored a touchdown. Bree ended her video and kissed his cheek. Say thank you, baby, she cooed. Thanks, Uncle Nate. He mumbled, already peeling off the plastic wrap. It got worse, quickly. That's how these things go. The bill came to me because the front desk had my card on file. The extra pizzas Bree added for the kids who are still hungry, $45 each, 3 of them, got tacked on. 2 extra pitchers of Sprite, a stack of unused socks, an event fee for a last-minute headcount change Bree had texted them about while I was corralling toddlers. Total, $1,187.36. The team behind the counter apologized, holding the signature screen like a hostage. Do you want me to split it? She asked. I looked across the room. Mom had her fixed smile plastered on. Dad was counting leftover napkins. Bree had Evan in a half hug, filming again. It's fine, I said, adding a 15% tip. I'm not cruel. When we got home, Jess helped Leo build his small Lego set. He asked once where his phone was, then didn't again. That almost killed me. At 8:52 p.m., my Apple ID email pinged. Your AT&T line has been activated on a new device. I stared, breathing through my nose, and read the line name. Line nickname. Evan. I scrolled down. Device details. Last 4 of the SIM. Activation time. 5:12 p.m. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't drive back to Sky Zone with a lawsuit and a lecture. I took a screenshot. 2, actually, because the first one cut off the IMEI. I saved them to a folder on my Notes app called Family. At 9:14 p.m., Bree texted me a video of Evan doing an unboxing. Caption, you slayed, big bro. I typed, we need to talk, then backspaced. I looked at Leo, asleep on the couch, his hand on the Lego spaceman. I decided I was done asking for basic decency like it was a favor. Step 1 was stupid and small, but it mattered. I went into my AT&T app and looked at the lines. Primary me. Secondary, spare. I'd added it for Bree during her emergency 2 years ago, swearing it was temporary. She'd slapped the SIM into one phone after another and never paid a cent. I hit suspend line. The app asked if I was sure. I was. At 9:22 p.m., Bree called. What did you just do? She shrieked. Suspended the spare, I said. You're being dramatic, she whined. Evan needs that for school. He's in 4th grade, Nate. Then put it on your plan, I replied. She huffed. Ugh, I knew you were going to get weird about this. I'm not weird, I said. I'm done. She hung up. I got the activation failed email 2 minutes later. Then another. Your line has been reactivated. Apparently, she'd called Dad, who called AT&T like he was the governor, and they undid it because he was my account recovery contact. That one's on me. I'd set him as backup 2 years ago when I was working overnights. So, I changed that too. Off Dad, onto Jess, because she's level-headed. Then I set a new account passcode and wrote it on a sticky note only I could read. Step 2 was the money. My bank app, Chase, shows those little gray circles where your spending recaps live. I tapped May and scrolled to transfers. There it was. Zelle $800 to Dad on May 3rd for Evan's camp. $600 cash withdrawal for Bree's car note on May 14th. That's $1,400 in the last month. I added it to the running total on my Notes app. Since January, I'd sent $7,500 to family for temporary emergencies. It stared back at me like a slow drip torture. I'm not saying I expected interest. I'm saying I never even got a thanks that didn't come with a winky face. Step 3 was the proof. I opened the Apple receipt again, enlarged the device info, and saved it with a boring name, May 19th for 25 activation. Then I pulled up the Sky Zone balance email, $1,187.36. Then the AT&T recovery contact change. Then a photo I'd snapped earlier without thinking, Leo's crown on the passenger seat, a blue buttercream smudge. Timestamp, 5:08 p.m. I put them in a single iCloud folder and shared it to myself as a file to print at FedEx in the morning. Not for a courtroom, for a living room. Step 4 was quiet. I set the coffee maker for 6:10 a.m. wrote, don't forget field trip money, $15, on the whiteboard for Leo's backpack. Packed his lunch, ham sandwich, carrot sticks, those weird yogurt tubes he loves. I double-knotted his shoes when he mumbled awake at 6:42 a.m. and asked if he could bring his Lego minifig to school. Pocket only, I said. No backpacks for astronauts. He smiled. Jess smiled at me over his head like she knew I was holding something heavy. What are you going to do? She asked when Leo went to brush his teeth. Stop being a resource, I said, and show them the receipts. She nodded. Call me if you need me. I texted Mom, family breakfast. Our place, 9:30, need 10 minutes. She hearted it, like this was sweet. At 9:12 a.m., I printed everything at FedEx. 8.5 by 11 sheets, black and white, because color is 69 cents a page. There's a line between making a point and wasting cash. At 9:30 a.m., they walked in. Dad in his U of a hoodie. Mom with a bag of grapes. Bree in sunglasses, like my kitchen lights were paparazzi. This better not be an ambush, she said, perfuming the air with vanilla and attitude. It's breakfast, I said. Jess poured coffee. Nobody touched the grapes. I put the stack of papers on the table and slid the first page to Dad, because he thinks everything is a business meeting. What's this? He grunted. AT&T activation, I said. Line name, Evan. Activation time, 5:12 p.m., which was during Leo's party, on the spare line I've been paying for. Dad scanned it. He went still in the way he does when the math catches up. That's an email, Bree sneered. Emails can be faked. I slid the Sky Zone receipt. $1,187.36, posted at 6:05 p.m. I paid for the party. I'm glad I did. I'm not mad about that part. But I'm not paying for your line anymore. Mom sighed. Nate, honey. I held up a hand. Come slow. There's more. I slid the Zelle summary. $7,500 total since January. Dates, amounts, notes. Then the bank alert screenshot from the night before. Your daily transfer limit is approaching. It's a dumb alert, but it looks official. Bree rolled her eyes. Okay, so you helped, and we love you for that. You love my card, I said. She tilted her head, smile thin. Don't be mean. I looked at Dad. You told me not to make a scene. I didn't. I'm making a boundary. He folded his arms. What boundary? Spare line is off as of now, I said. No more transfers. No more being the card on file for group dinners. If I'm invited, I'll pay for me and Leo. That's it. Mom blinked. You're overreacting. And the phone, Bree blurted. We already set it up. Evan's contacts are in. He has school apps. You can't just, she stopped, because I slid the last page across the table. Not a paper, A printout of my car insurance proof of coverage, listing the 2018 Hyundai Elantra, VIN ending, redacted, titled in my name. Bree's car. I bought it at CarMax in 2022 when her credit was wrecked and put the title in my name so she could get to work. She promised $250 a month. I got $250 in February, then $0. Nate, Mom said slowly, what is this? I set my keys on the table. The second fob, the Elantras, the one I'd twirled last night. I'm not taking your car, I said. I'm taking my car back. Until we have a written plan. Insurance is in my name. Registration is in my name. If it's staying at your place, you'll pay the insurance by the 30th. It's $126.18 a month. I need the last 3 months and June's in advance. Or the keys stay with me. Bree's mouth opened and closed like a goldfish on a countertop. That's not fair, she finally choked out. It's not a punishment, I said. It's a line. Dad sat back like he'd been hit with a taser set to too embarrassing, but survivable. You're making your sister's life difficult, he grumbled. She made my son's birthday difficult. I countered. And I didn't make a scene. I'm making a plan. If this were a movie, someone would stand up and clap. That's not what happened. Real life is messy, and quieter. It's a lot of blinking, a few half sentences, and one person deciding to leave a room. Bree went for outrage first. You can't just hold my transportation hostage, she shrieked, palm flat on my table like she owned the yoke. It's my transportation, I said. You've been driving it. I need it for Evan, she cried. School pickup, practice life. So pay the insurance and sign a repayment plan, I said, sliding a simple page I'd typed up and printed at 8:05 a.m. It wasn't legalese. It was 3 lines, $126.18 per month insurance to me on the 1st, $200 per month toward the Elantra principal due the 15th, Zelle or cash. No friends and family. If payment is late by 10 days, the car stays parked with me until the next month is covered. Dates. Spots for signatures. That's it. She laughed like I'd asked her to mortgage the moon. Dad took the paper. He read it slowly. It's reasonable, he said, surprising Mom and me at the same time. Mom shot him a look. Dan, she warned, her tone sharp. He just lifted his shoulder. He's got the title. It sucked the oxygen out of the kitchen. Mom doesn't like when logic happens and it's not hers. Bree pivoted to guilt. Evan's going to be devastated, she said, softer now, a tremble hitching at the end. You're punishing a child. I'm not punishing anyone, I said. I'm just not paying for your decisions anymore. She tried a new angle. I could report the phone stolen, she threatened. AT&T will. It's on my account, I interrupted. They'll talk to me. She huffed, looking to Mom for backup. Mom did the soft voice thing. Nate, sweetie, you know your sister's had a hard year. Rick left. The rent went up. She's doing her best. I know, I said. And I help a lot. That's why I brought the numbers, so we could all see it. You don't have to be petty with receipts, she snapped. It's not petty to tell the truth, Jess said, quiet until then, sliding a mug toward Mom like a peace offering. Leo handled yesterday better than any adult here. He deserves the gift his dad bought him. Bree scoffed. Oh, spare me the Saint Co-Parent Act. Jess's eyebrows twitched. Then she said, calmly, it's not an act. I flipped the stack back to the first page and tapped the activation email. This is the only thing I care about today, I said. Return the phone or pay me back in full by Friday. I'll go to AT&T today at lunch and move that spare line off my plan, no matter what. The car stays with me until the insurance is current. What if I don't sign? Bree challenged. Then the keys stay here, I said, pointing at the hook by the door where Leo's backpack hangs. The Elantra fob sat beneath it, ordinary and heavy. The air got thin. Bree did a little chin lift, the one she does right before she's about to lie, and I was ready for it. I expected some story about how she'd planned to pay me back, how I'd misunderstood, how Evan's teacher requires iPhones now. Instead, she went small. Fine, she mumbled. I'll just use Uber. Use Uber, I said. Save your receipts. We'll add them to the budget. Mom stood. Enough, she commanded. Nate, you're punishing your family for a toy. That's when I pushed the last line across the table. Not a paper. A sentence. Yesterday at 4:37, Leo looked at the floor and pretended not to cry. The words hung in the air. I said it wasn't a toy. It was a moment. He learned that other people can grab his thing, and the grown-ups will laugh. I can't let him learn that. Silence. Even the fridge shut up for a second. Bree's face flickered. Not remorse. Calculation. Then she said the thing that popped whatever last thread I had. You could have just told me you wanted it back, she said, her voice dripping with disdain. You don't have to be dramatic. God. I exhaled through my nose. Keys, I said, and held my palm out. She didn't move. Dad reached into his hoodie pocket and set the keys on the table himself, like he was tired. Sign the paper, Bree, he said, or start walking. She stared at him. That was the flip, weirdly. Not my emails, not my careful numbers. Dad saying out loud which way the wind was going. She looked at me. She looked at the paper. Then she scribbled her name. Not because she agreed, but because she wanted the show over. Fine, she muttered. You win. I didn't win, I said. I just stopped playing. It didn't end with fireworks. It ended with logistics. At 11:05 a.m., I stood at the AT&T on 41st. The guy in the blue shirt asked how my day was. Boundary day, I said. He nodded like he'd heard that before. He moved the spare line off my account and onto a prepaid SIM sitting in his drawer. He handed me a small white envelope and a printed summary. Account change completed. 11:22 a.m. I tucked it into my folder. At 12:08 p.m., I called Apple support because Bree had tried to report the iPhone lost or stolen and lock it remotely. The rep asked for proof. I emailed the activation email and the point-of-sale receipt from 11:06 a.m. the day before. They took the serial off lost mode. I kept my voice calm. I kept the rep on speaker so Jess could hear and remind me not to apologize for existing. At 1:40 p.m., I parked the Elantra in my spot behind our building, printed a little sheet that said, "Not in use. Do not tow," and slipped it onto the dash. I took a photo, because Tulsa tow guys can be proactive. At 3:03 p.m., a Zelle ping hit my phone from Bree. $126.18. Memo, insurance. 10 minutes later, another ping from Dad. $300. Memo, for Evan's camp installment. I didn't respond. I added the amounts to my note. At 4:10 p.m., Leo tumbled out of the bus with a shoebox diorama of a space base. He bounced when he saw the small white box on the kitchen island. You got it back? I did, I said. We're going to set it up together and talk about rules. Can I call Grandma? He asked. In a minute, I said. First, we pick a ringtone. He picked chimes because he said it sounded like a robot being polite. At 5:22 p.m., Bree texted. I need the car for Evan's practice, she wrote. I sent her a photo of the signed plan and the $126.18 receipt. When June is received, you can pick it up. No, she typed. I need it tonight. I didn't reply. She called Jess, who didn't answer. She called Dad, who texted me a shrug emoji. Then she sent a voice note that started with, "Wow, Nate," and ended with, "You're really doing this." I saved it to my family folder and turned on Do Not Disturb. At 7 p.m., Mom called. I let it ring out. She texted instead, "You're taking this too far." I typed, "I'm not available for this conversation," and set the phone down. At 8:16 p.m., I sat on the couch with Leo tucked into my side. We chose a blue silicone case on Amazon together, $12.99, Sunday delivery. I put his school numbers into favorites. He called Jess from across the room and said, "Mom, it sounds like the future." She cried, then laughed, and said, "It does." Here's the practical fallout, because people always ask what happens next. The car stayed with me for 8 days. On day 9, Bree dropped $200 at my door with a folded apology that wasn't really an apology. I handed her the keys and took a photo of the odometer. We're doing that odometer photo on the 1st of every month now. She hates it. I don't care. The spare line is gone. AT&T now has 2 contacts on the account, me and Jess. Dad texted LOL and hasn't mentioned it again. The iPhone stays at my house on my weeks only. On Jess's weeks, Leo uses her old Android with the kid profile. He's fine. He's 7. He wants snacks and bedtime stories more than apps. Money. I made a spreadsheet. Simple, not punitive. I wrote down every dollar from January through now and shared it with Dad and Mom, not to shame. To end the word help as a fog. On June 30th at 10:02 a.m., Dad sent me $600 with a note. We've been unfair. I took a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for a decade. The bigger thing is quieter. The family group chat has been normal. Fewer demands, more photos of my niece's art projects. Fewer Nate, can you? Messages at 11 p.m. The AT&T alerts are just mine now. A little ping when Leo calls me from Jess's to say goodnight and tell me which planet he learned about. It's Saturn. He likes the rings. Do Bree and I hang out? Not really. We exchange logistics. If she misses a payment, the Elantra stays parked. She's missed once. The car sat for 3 days. She was angry. I was at peace. 2 weekends after the party, we had Dad's birthday. Backyard grill, folding chairs. I brought ice. I didn't bring my card. When the cake came out, Evan sidled up to Leo and said, "Hey, can I hold your phone?" Leo looked at me. I shrugged. "Your call." He smiled and said, "You can look at it." Then he added, "But not mine now." Evan laughed. A real laugh, not the whipped-up kind. He handed it back without a scene. Kids adapt if adults stop twisting the world for them. Mom tried once more, of course. She pulled me aside by the hydrangeas and said, "You embarrassed your sister." "I stopped subsidizing your daughter," I said. "Those are different." She exhaled like I'd said a bad word. I didn't argue. I took a photo of Dad with the grandkids, sent it to the group chat, and left the party early because Leo was sticky and happy and tired. Back home, I put the sign plan in a cheap Walgreens folder labeled car. The AT&T passcode lives on a piece of paper in my lockbox with the lease and the passports. The Discover card that was on file at 3 places, Sky Zone, the Bounce Place, and Smoke, is replaced with a new one that nobody has. I didn't announce it. I just did it. My moral isn't poetic. It's practical. I'm not a resource. I'm a person with a kid and a budget and a spine. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just showed the receipts, set the terms, and moved the keys to my hook. And when people told me not to make a scene, I learned the small trick I should have known all along. So, tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to draw a line with family like this? I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below.